Hey there, I'm Robin Denton, a health and wellness educator and the creator of the Healed podcast. And last week, I shared with you all some research that I had done on fasting and the amazing physical results that you can get from fasting, but also the spiritual component. And I love the way that God put those together. If you did not get to watch that video, go back and check it out before you watch this one. Today, we're going to be talking about feasting. And as I was doing a little research on this, now keep in mind, I'm not Jewish. I don't know a lot about this, but it seems like the only people who are practicing the traditional feast are the Jews. But that is not what the Bible tells us. The Bible actually says in Leviticus 23:2, it says, speak to the people of Israel and say to them, this is God telling Moses, these are the appointed feast of the Lord that you shall proclaim. So they are not Jewish feasts, they are actually the Lord's feast. And some of these that I read about, and I hope I don't mess this up, I'm just going to go ahead and give a disclaimer to do your own research because this is something new that I've been looking into. When I came across all the information about fasting, it made me really curious. And actually, when we're fasting, that is the time that we're truly spiritually feasting on the Lord. But these times of festivals or times of feast are they're celebrations, but they're not only celebrations of what God's done in the past, they are prophetic. And so they're looking forward to what God is going to do in the future in our lives. So, one of the feasts or festivals is, of course, Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is kind of what we would say the Easter story where Christ dies and is buried and is resurrected in 3 days. And then we have the Feast of Weeks, also known as Pentecost, and that's where the Holy Spirit is poured out upon us. Then we have the Feast of Trumpets, and that is prophetic of the day that in Revelation where it talks about Jesus' return. And not only will that be that the day that Jesus returns, but also the day of resurrection of the saints, where their fleshly bodies will be transformed into spiritual bodies. Then there is the Day of Atonement or Yom Kippur, which represents the transference of man's sins to Satan. So Jesus will come back and bind Satan and transfer all sin back to him. And then there's the Feast of Tabernacles, which represents the millennial kingdom. So that's when the saints will rule and reign with Jesus. And then there's the festival of the last great day, which represents the great white throne judgment. And like I said, these are not just not looking in the past or not just most of these are prophetic, even the ones at the beginning that seem like, well, maybe they've already happened, like Jesus's death and burial and resurrection. That may have happened for you and me, but that may not have happened for some people in their spiritual walk. So these are prophetic feasts and festivals. And I really loved learning about these, but one thing that I did learn that I did not know was where we kind of got away from celebrating these feasts. So in 300 AD, Constantine, who was a Roman ruler, got converted to Christianity. It was a pagan society, and he became converted to a Christian. And the whole Roman Empire was pagan, and it was the most powerful empire at the time. And actually, Constantine made Christianity the national religion. So, in order to do this with a pagan society, he made some compromises so that people would accept it. So, for example, the time of worship. So, Saturday was the original um, Sabbath, and the pagans, they were used to worshiping the sun god on Sunday, and this was also a time of anti-Semitism, a time when people were in that region were developing a hatred for the Jews. And so they did not want to be worshiping on the same day as the Jews. They did not want to be worshiping with the Jews. So the Constantine, and I'm sure the government made the compromise to change the Sabbath day to Sunday instead of Saturday. And you may be thinking, I don't know. I don't know if I believe this or whatever, but I actually saw it. There's actually a document. It is if you convert to Catholicism, it's called the Convert's Catechism of Catholic Doctrine. And it says there's like common questions as you convert that are explained. And this is one of the things that is explained in there. So it actually, that document actually admits that this was why it was changed. Even though Jesus was a Jew, the Romans actually saw, they knew that the Jewish people had killed him. And so that was another issue with them that they had with the Jews. So let's see. So they wanted a distinction between themselves and the Jews. So festivals of God were replaced by pagan traditions like Easter and Christmas. And I don't know, as I read about this, it really made me think about myself. I'm Christian. I celebrate Easter. I celebrate Christmas. And I always feel like, these holidays that we celebrate are so commercialized, and there's so much pressure put on us, and all the focus is taken off of Christ, off of what this holiday is supposed to mean. And I always feel an emptiness about that. I always have this high expectation for my holidays, and it never gets met. And this really made me think that, well, I'm not really celebrating the right thing. And I didn't even realize that. In Acts 18, it tells us that Paul even kept these feast days. It was so important to him that even as he was out, working with different people and ministering to them and teaching them, when it came time for a feast, he would leave and travel long distances, travel across the ocean to get back to the feast. It was viewed as really, really important. And Paul says to us, imitate me, because he's imitating Christ. And I want to encourage you to look into this. If you're feeling like your holidays are not a culmination of your feasting on the Holy Spirit and feasting on the Lord, then this may be the piece that we're missing. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. Feel welcome to comment, but I would appreciate it if everybody be respectful of other people's views and opinions. It tells us in the Bible that we're to work out our salvation, and each person has to do that for themselves individually. And we need to respect each other and love each other and encourage each other as we do that. So, anyway, I am Robin Denton again, and I hope that you got a little tidbit of information that makes you want to know more. And as you seek out the Lord and find Him, you will also find who you are, because we are made in God's image. So I hope this little segment keeps you hungry for Him.